This is CMS Administrator Dr. Mehmet Oz. Dr. Oz, thank you for joining us. There are so many questions I have, our viewers have. Americans who have struggled to pay more than the rest of the world for drugs are cheering today, I'm sure. The president's executive order, which pushes pharma to bring those prices down, is voluntary. What is the plan to force them to do it?
Well, the president wants equalization. That's the word that he used. And it's mostly about fairness. So over the next 30 days, we're approaching all the major pharmaceutical companies and saying, this is what your drugs cost in other countries that are similar to ours. We want most favored nation status, which means, again, very specifically, if you're willing to sell, as President Trump's anecdote about a portly friend of his who was getting a GLP drug in London said, I can get it for $88 here. I've got to pay $1,000 in America. That doesn't seem fair. And so most pharmaceutical companies, I believe, and they're going to hear from us over the next few weeks, understand that this is not really right for America to have to generate 70% of their profits, and we're only 4% of the world population. So we believe there's going to be a desire to come to an understanding, and you see from the stock prices on pharmaceutical companies that others may think this is also okay for that sector. My belief is that if we can't get this to the right place in 30 days, there are tactics we can use. They exist already within government. The president has some opportunities. Congress obviously has options. But the best case scenario would be we all get along and say, hey, listen, this is something that you as an American probably don't think is right either. How do we get Europe to pay a little more so America can pay a little less? And that is exactly what I think the pharmaceutical shareholders will be okay with, because they're going to make the same amount of money, just not all of it from the U.S.
Right. So that's why, in a way, people are expecting that the pharmaceutical stocks should be okay. As a business network, we look at that. But as the daughter of a doctor, I mean, my dad used to tell me that he had patients who were breaking their pills in half because they really couldn't afford to pay. And meantime, you had other nations, and I'm not talking about poorer nations. I'm talking about comparatively similar developed nations paying less than Americans were. So that is something I think that resonates with everybody. I was watching you today with the president, and everybody was taking their turn to talk. Something you said really caught my ear, and that was where you said, it's time to take on the withering lobbyist pressure. I can hear them knocking on your door already. Have the pharma lobbyists and the pharmacy benefit manager lobbyists already reached out? What are you saying to them?
I'm saying that as an American, you want to make sure this system is sustainable and is going to last for many, many more years so your businesses continue to thrive. We want innovation. The president spoke to that openly. Secretary Kennedy spoke about the fact that we're proud to be leading the path forward, but it's got to be a financial model that makes sense for us as well. And you spoke about your father, Liz. As a physician, and three of us on that panel that you see there are doctors, our biggest problem is when we tell a patient, because our Hippocratic oath is to help get people healthier. We give them advice and we take care of their health issue, and then they're bankrupt. Let me give you a number on this. It's going to stun you. This is a Kaiser Family Foundation data point. 62% of bankruptcies, two-thirds, are caused by medical issues, health issues, some of them driven because you cannot afford the medications. In fact, 30% of people who are prescribed medications say they can't take those medications as prescribed because they can't afford them. That's not bringing health to Americans. Let the doctors, let the hospitals, let everyone involved provide the best care possible. Let's make it affordable so it's sustainable.
We reached out to some of the pharmaceutical companies. AstraZeneca gave us this statement, and among other things, they said a most favored nation pricing policy would need to be implemented with thorough stakeholder engagement and robust systems to avoid it risking disrupting patient care, undermining U.S. leadership in biotech, and stifling innovation that drives global health advancements. That's been the argument, that if you try and tamp down prices in whatever form, whether it's going through most favored nation status or whatever, that will choke off the innovation, because these drug companies do invest so much money. They go out on a limb, and 9 times out of 10, these drugs do not get through the entire process.
I am proud of what the pharmaceutical industry has been able to bring to the American people and the entire planet in terms of advances. Huge sentinel movement forward in things like cancer therapy, autoimmune ailments. So that's all a healthy part of the U.S. healthcare system. The unhealthy part is if you can't give those therapies to everybody. And that's our goal. And what AstraZeneca and everyone else is saying is what the U.S. government is also saying. We're in this negotiation to make sure that we have equalization. There's no reason why countries in Europe cannot pay their fair share. And just to your point about whether this is a good path or not, the president's a wonderful negotiator. Look at NATO. You know, he went over there and he said, you guys got to pay a little more. We're protecting you. You've got to chip in. What happened? Europe chipped in. We pay less. They're still NATO. The same thing's going to happen, I hope and believe, with the pharmaceutical industry. We're going to have an opportunity to continue to make high-quality products, invest as required, let these brilliant scientists do their best work in American facilities, and make products here in America so we have access to them no matter what happens outside of our borders. But it's got to be at a price that's fair. We cannot pay 70% more than many. In fact, if you look at that chart that was next to me on the dais when the president was speaking,
I saw that.
You look at that, the numbers are stunning. We pay 2 to 4 times more on the drugs that we just approved in the IRA that was last year. So we're not catching up to Europe.
Right. You mentioned GLPs. We can show you the GLP price that Americans pay, and I think this is low because I've followed this story, but the average American pays $936 for Ozempic. And then you see Japan is paying $169. The UK, $93. France, $83. So clearly something's got to give here. I do have to quickly ask you about Medicare and Medicaid, because French Hill, the Arkansas Republican, is about to join us first on Fox Business. He, of course, is with the House Financial Services Committee, and he's the chair. You know, cutting or limiting things when it comes to Medicaid, this is for poor people. How do you make that argument and support that argument when we're looking at a time where people are sick, they have huge debt when it comes to, as you just pointed out, medical bankruptcy?
Liz, in every scenario that I've witnessed, we are increasing spending on Medicaid. I'm sitting in the Health and Human Services building right now. It's called the Humphrey building because of Hubert Humphrey. He's got a quote as you enter the building, and it says, "It is the moral obligation of government to take care of those who are at the dawn of life, the children, those at the twilight of life, those who are seniors, and those who are living in the shadows, those are the vulnerable, the folks who aren't going to necessarily recover all that quickly, but deserve our care." Every great nation does this. We're a great country. We will do exactly that. But we have to do it not just because we want to invest in making sure vulnerable Americans have a chance, but also makes the system more sustainable if we can protect it the way the president desires.
Dr. Oz, thank you. And I want you back because we're going to wait and see. We want to see this happen. I know the Commerce Department has to get about 30 days where they will come back with the ideas and what they present for these pharmaceutical companies and the prices on key drugs. So we'll be watching it. Thank you so much.